Hey everyone, Wayne Fox here with my new Epson p9570 printer that I just put in. Not sure what the 70 stands for. I don't know. Epson usually just uses even numbers, 9000, 9500. I assume the 70 has some significance, who knows. Anyway, I did a real elaborate video showing how we got it delivered and got it upstairs and got it all installed. You know, most people that are buying one of these have already had a similar printer in the past, and they probably really only want to know what's different. So I'm going to kind of focus on all of the things I found that's different. Some are really minor. Some are seemingly minor, but yet are a little bit more useful than you think of. And we'll just kind of get into it from there. So the first thing I want to mention is the printer is heavier than the previous one, the p9000. I had the p9000 for about 5 years. And when we put it into my house before, it was into a basement. And I had the same people come to help me to do this one, my son-in-laws and my son. And this is 40 pounds heavier, and it's noticeable. We had a harder time getting it up here, and even though I have a better stairway, it's a little bit of a struggle. It definitely takes 4 people, and the challenge is, if you're just gonna put it into a normal 1-story production facility, that's not a problem because you can take it out, put it on the stand, and then roll it into place. But to have to, get it up a set of stairs, in my case, it's a 4-foot wide stairway, which is probably good. And then it's got a U-turn landing on it, which is also fairly roomy. But the challenge is it takes 4 people, 1 in each corner. There's a handle down here that you hold, and you can hold it on the end as long as you stay away from the door. And once you get 4 people around it, it's not like you're standing here. And for example, I got to the doorway, and there was no way to get the end through the doorway with the people that were, holding it. And so we actually had to kind of set it down. I actually dented this piece here. Is actually, you don't want to put any weight on this. But we finally got it figured out using a couple little flat dollies. I think you can set it on the ends if you're careful, and we seem to get away with it. We finally got it upstairs, so that's the first thing that's noticeably different. It is heavier. It's not much bigger. I think it's only 1 inch or 2 longer, and I don't know if it's any deeper or not. It doesn't seem to be. Anyway, as far as installing or setting it up, that's pretty much straightforward. Just follow the instructions in the book. There's only one piece of advice I'll get. There's no reason to shake your cartridges one at a time. You got 12 cartridges to put in. That shows you how to agitate them. Basically, you just hold the cartridge and you agitate it. But you can take out 6 of them at one time. So all the ones that go inside, you can actually shake them all together and then do the other 6, shake them all together. No reason to shake them one at a time. Just that take the extra 5-10 minutes to put the ink in if you did that. I recommend you give them a full 20-30 seconds. Very gentle, just rock back and forth. I don't know how long the inks have been sitting, but they sit on their ends, so once you shake them on their side, that'll agitate whatever needs agitating. I have no idea what's in there. I've really never seen a problem from a cartridge that wasn't agitated, but I assume the reason they tell you to do it is because it can be problematic. Another new feature is all of the outlets are on the end now. So the power, Ethernet, USB, all is in the end. Easy to get to, unlike previous Epson printers where they've put them in the middle of the back of the printer. And there are a couple little ways that you can keep the cable up off the ground in the back. So not kind of a minor thing, but it's nice. Another new feature is it's a touch panel control now. Very easy to use. And the other thing that's cool about this is that because it's this touch panel display, you get little instructions on everything you do. So like when you're ready to load the ink, it actually walks you through the steps. So the manual is actually pretty small now because a lot of the instructions are here in the panel. Another new feature, which is kind of cool, is it has a light on the inside of the printer. I don't know if the camera is going to pick that up or not, but it's really bright enough that you can actually see your print being printed quite well. And whenever it's printing, the light turns on automatically, and you've got a little on and off switch up at the top if you need to see in it for any other reason. Another nice feature is the paper loading system is dramatically changed. It still uses the no spindle ends like it has in the past. These are both 3 and 2 inch cores, so it's really nice. And you don't have to have a big long rod going through it. So this part isn't the same, but the actual door that closes it is sealed, and it's got when you drop it down, it doesn't slam. And you can't run the printer with the door open, at least unless there's a way to bypass it. And then there's also a manual feed slot, so when you're ready to feed it manually, you pop this open. And the actual loading process is much simpler as well, and I'll get to that here in just a few minutes. So that's another nice improvement. The biggest improvement probably is in the head and the ink technology. Now, the old 9000 used a 1-inch head, and it was a 360 DPI-based printer. And what they've done with this is they've put the head from the p9000 and the p2000 into this machine. So this is a 2.6-inch head, and it's based on 300 DPI technology, so it's like a Canon or a HP printer. And because of that, it's over twice as fast as far as print speed. It's pretty impressive how fast you can print out a print. The ink itself, there's 12 inks now, and there are 12 ink channels. And because of that, matte black and PK no longer share a channel. And because of that, they also put the violet ink in as well. So you get all the colors of the previous generation, the p9000, plus you get the violet ink, which was an optional something you could get instead of the other colors in the p9000. It was designed mainly for Pantone. So basically this one printer will serve all of their markets. And because of the violet ink, you get an expanded gamut. Now, one side benefit of that, in the old printers, what you did is you would charge the ink, and the PK or the matte black ink would charge the line, and at the same time it's sharing a channel with the light black, so it would charge the line. Well, once that was charged, you had to charge the photo black ink, and that would recharge the light black ink. So any of you that bought a Epson printer in the past, you know that you're going to run out of light black ink really fast because it uses a lot of the ink just in charging, and you pretty much have to plan on buying a light black cartridge when you buy the printer because it's going to run out way before any other colors. In this case, because there's all 12 separate ink lines, all of the colors are about the same, and I had about a 30% left over in the inks. Now it comes with 150 milliliter cartridges. Another change, by the way, you don't have to push a button to open the doors anymore. And 150 is enough to get it charged, and you'll probably get quite a few prints, but you're going to need to get ink pretty soon. Now, from my experience, I'm going to just say that you're going to go through the gray, the light gray, and the black much faster than most of the other colors. And in my case, you go through the green and the orange not nearly as much, and probably the violet. So you can base your cartridges on your useful life. So for example, in my other printer, I had 700 mil cartridges in all my grays and my black, and I only had 350s in the rest. And in this case, I might keep 350s. We'll see where the violet goes. But you know, you can use different size cartridges based on the ink load. You're definitely going to go through way more black ink than any other color, especially the light black and the light black. And now I think they just call it gray and light gray. So nice change here though. Big compartment, easy to get to. Notice the orange light. So whenever it has an alert for you to come and look at the display, this thing lights up orange. Another little kind of a nice feature. The other thing that's new is the basket itself. You can actually, you know, before this basket would go out flat and the print would just have to roll out on your floor. And now you can actually grab this and you can drag it out. And you can drag it out about 5 or 6 feet. So now your print has somewhere to go. And then when you're done with it, you can just hit the rewind button, rewind it part way, and it just sits on top of that. You can still pop it open to let the smaller prints fall down in the basket below. So the new basket seems to be a nice change. I've always fought with having the print roll out on the carpet. And the nice part about this, because it's rolled up, it's not going to collect dust or dirt. So that's another nice change. So one interesting new feature that I thought I would show, and I've never done this before, is the head itself can be accessed without opening up the printer, tearing into the printer. You know, in the past, if you get a bunch of gunk on your head, you really had no good way to clean it off or even know if there was gunk on there. And now, I've never done it before, but I think I'm gonna do it. And what I've got to do is roll it out, because you access it in the back left side of the printer. There's an access door. So let me get this thing turned around so we can see that, and then we'll take a look at it. Okay, got it starting back up. I had to change and move the plug around. One thing I didn't mention earlier, as far as installation, make sure you find all of the blue tape. Blue tape is hidden everywhere. I wish I own the company that sold Epson blue tape, because they've got it in places I don't even understand why it's there. It's not touching anything, it's not holding anything together. There's even a piece down here. This one makes sense because it's holding the maintenance tank in. And normally these I don't discover till the maintenance tank needs changed out. And on this side over here, I think you'll go through several maintenance tanks on that side before you get to this one. Actually, what I do is once this right side, on the 9000 anyway, once that right side tank starts getting a little full, I swap them and let this one fill up, so they sort of, you don't have to buy a maintenance tank that soon. So as you can see, there's an access panel right here, and what's supposed to happen, there's a menu option to wipe the print head, and once it gets over, you remove this door, and the print head is just sitting right here for you to wipe. For some reason, when I do that, the print head comes to about here. It doesn't come far enough over to access it. So I don't know if there's a bug in the latest firmware, if they decided they don't want people to do that anymore. I've got to find out why. Maybe there's something I have to enable, because obviously they don't want just anybody. You really need to know what you're doing if you're going to start wiping down that print head. So I'll do another video about that once I get that figured out. But it's kind of a cool new feature. Well, I got to turn it around and back in place and turned it on, and it did a head cleaning. I haven't only printed a handful of prints, so it could be that whenever you do that wipe of the print head, that automatically will do a head cleaning to make sure those nozzles are clear. Sometimes when you wipe the head, I don't know, from what I see from the instructions, you're not supposed to wipe where the nozzles themselves are. There is a wiper assembly that does that, and it looks like you're supposed to just clean above and below it. But I don't know if that automatically triggers head cleaning or not. I know when I turn it back on, it cleaned the heads. And I don't know, hopefully I didn't use up all my ink, because right now the 350 milliliter cartridges, which is the size I want to use in most of my colors, are hard to come by. They're on order everywhere. And I don't want to buy 700s because I just don't print that much anymore. It looks like it didn't really drop my levels too much, so that's good. So now let me change the camera angle, and I'll just show you the new loading procedure, and then that should probably be a wrap. Okay, so let's first load a roll of paper. This is kind of an old scrap roll that I've had for quite some time, so I don't have my gloves on. Basically move this over to the side, drop in your cores. Okay, pick it up. And a lot of times people want to set the roll. There is a little bit of a groove here that you can set the roll of paper in to keep it from, and it won't roll off. Okay, make sure that those are tight against the paper. You want to move this one over. There's some alignment rods, and you want to move this one so the white part, 2 lines, is about where, and you're basically going to take this one, set it into place, slide it over till it clicks, slide this over, and then basically turn it till it clicks, and then lock. And that's how you put the roll in. Very, very simple. It says roll paper was open, or cover was open. Do I want to load roll paper? And I said yes. So basically, this will walk you through the steps. I take my roll of paper, I simply insert it, and I push it in until it makes a little sound. Once it makes the sound, I just hit complete. It will grab the paper, tell me to shut the cover. So unlike the last printer, which you had to push it all the way through and pull it down here and tight, it works better. Now at this point, it's asking me the paper type, the paper amount of paper remaining, as well as any advanced settings, and you can set those up. Now in the previous Epson printer, you could load that into the printer as well, but it didn't make any sense because you had to put it into the driver as well. And so you might as well just put it in the driver. I just, whatever the default was, I never actually put it into the printer. Now what you can do in the driver is it's got a setting, a choice called use printer setting. So if you set it up here, you don't have to reset it up in your driver. So it's actually a nice little benefit. So kind of a new way, but I think it's a plus. Now, the first time I did this, it said it was skewed. So you do want to make sure you get it in straight. If it's not straight, it'll make you do it over. I've loaded it several times since, and that's the only time I've had the skew error. One thing it would be nice if they could figure out a way to speed this process up. It takes quite a while for it to load a roll of paper. Now, for most production facilities, that's no big deal because they load it and they're going to print out the whole roll, so they're not actually loading it. In my case, I've got 3 or 4 kinds of paper I use, and so sometimes I'm switching. And not a big deal because I'm not a high-speed production house. So it's already loaded. If we want to change, we can just hit here where it says the name of the paper, and it will ask us if we want to remove it. It's also got a choice called feed cut paper, and I think if I hit that, that lets me move the paper. I can rewind it backwards or forwards, and I can cut it. So I can actually wind it forward and cut the tail off or the beginning off if I need to. In this case, we're going to remove it. And now let's do a cut sheet. It's telling me to remove the paper, but I don't really need to do that. I'll just close that menu. And so now I'm going to tell it to print, to load a cut sheet. It tells me to open the little door here, set the paper and rest it and line it up with the line on this side, and then hit the complete button. Now it's going to ask me if it's skewed or sideways, and I guess I just visually look, and it looks great to me. You hit OK, and again you can put the paper, type in stuff in, and hit OK. Like I said, I'll probably start using that now because I don't have, that way I can just hit use printer default in the driver from now on. The other function that I did mention on the roll paper is you can set the amount of paper remaining on the roll. So if you put a brand new roll in, you can put in the roll length. I'm not sure how long the rolls are, I don't remember. And when you take it out, if you make a notation of that amount, you can write it on your box. And when you put it back in, you can enter that amount. So you can actually keep track of what's left on the roll. Or if you're printing a really big job, you know, you might know that you need 37 feet of paper and your roll has got 22 feet or 55 feet. So it could be real useful if you want to take the time to do it. And there we're done. So a quick comparison of the Gamut volumes on the 2 printers. The left is the 9000 with a Gamut volume of 881,000. That's on premium luster paper 260. And in the 9500, we get to 927,000. So about a 4 or 5% increase. We also see that the maximum black on the 9000 is L4, whereas the maximum black on the 9500 is L2. So we're getting to a slightly blacker point. I don't know if this profile that Epson has made was using the new enhanced black overlay, and I'm going to have to test that to see if that's where you get to the L2 or if they've actually improved the ink itself. Notice that the 9000 is not quite neutral in the black. We have a -2 in the B. I don't think visually you're going to see that, but it's just interesting that it's completely neutral in the 9500. If we actually compare the profiles themselves by graphing them, you'll see the inside is the 9000 and the white wire mesh is the 9500. And as you can see, the 9500 has a slightly expanding gamut in almost all regions. Notice that in the black, we do get a slightly blacker black. It's interesting to me when we get into these colors over in here that despite the violet ink, the 9000 is actually giving me better colors in this region here. And I would think that the violet ink would actually help in this. All the other colors of ink are the same, so I'm not sure why these areas are slightly better in the 9000. It just could be the algorithms that actually dither and print out the little the dots. I don't know. How printing technology works is mind-blowing to me and way beyond my pay grade. But anyway, slightly better gamut. If you're deciding between the 2 printers, I think output quality is going to be outstanding for either one. I do think that the features of the 9500 might justify spending the extra money. The paper loading is better. The print speed is definitely better. The ink set is slightly better, I think. And I believe overall the new basket is better.
the ability to get to the head. Just if you add all those little things up, it's worth to me, it's worth the extra investment if you're debating on buying a 9000 or a 9500. I don't know if the 9000 will be discontinued, if this is a replacement, or if Epson intends to maintain that just because it has a lower price point. I'm sort of assuming it will replace it eventually, and the 9500 will be the only choice.
So last thing I'm going to do is actually make a print. I've got a sheet of 17 by 22 inch paper that I've loaded. One thing is the book tells you to put the narrow end in first. I'm not sure why. As long as your paper is longer than 10 inches, which is the minimum length, there's no reason to put the paper in vertical. If you think about it, the more I can print this way without switching directions, the faster I'm going to print it. So if I've got a 22 by 17 inch wide paper print, it's going to print faster than if I print a 17 by 22 inch paper. So I always put my sheet paper in sideways. I have to put custom sizes in the driver. No big deal, but it does print a little faster. So one other thing that's available, and I actually ran into a problem with this, it's got a new feature called Black Enhance Overcoat. And the whole idea is sometimes when your black ink's on glossy paper, you get what's called bronzing, a little bit of a weirdish reflection when you turn it. And somehow they're using one of the gray inks on top of the black to eliminate that. Now the problem is if you enable that, there's a bunch of new options in it, but if you enable that, by default, what ends up happening is it makes a larger border on the top of the print. And when I first tried that, you can see that my print wasn't centered. And so what I had to do was enable an option called minimize top border. And then I was finally able to get a print that was actually correctly centered in my layout. And I don't know that you would need, in an image like this, I really need to find out, okay, at what point, how much black do you really need before you enable that? I did print my Jack Fletcher test target, and you'll notice that, and I might try to shoot this in my viewing area and do a overlay, but basically this is a Epson p9000 versus my new printer. And let's just turn them this way so I can hold them up. And probably can't see that too great on the camera, but you can tell that they're pretty much identical. I can see a tiny bit better shadow detail in the one from the 9570. And I haven't really got into it in a lot of detail. These are both with just Epson's standard profiles. I do have my target ready to print. I always profile my own printers. And my target, I've 4,101 patches total. I have an ISIS, so it's pretty easy to do that many. And by doing that many, I can make sure all of my printers are, no matter what print I get, are really, really close to each other. I've got a whole series on color management that talks about printer profiles and stuff like that. Anyway, let's go ahead and print this print. We've got the paper loaded, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn the light on. And I don't know if we can see that in there, but I think we can, so let's go ahead and get it started here. All right, so I've got it printing. It does tell me the job on the display. It gives me a moving little thermometer type thing, so I can tell. It tells me right now it's got 4 minutes remaining, and it's actually giving me a little visual indicator of that. It's got the name of the file. Very cool. I can pause it if I want, just by hitting the pause button right there. I'll speed this up in fast motion now and let you see the whole print go through. You can get an idea of how fast it's printing now. It's already printed the first, it's about 20% through already. Very fast. Now it still says 2 minutes left. I'm not sure why, because to me it looks like it's done. Now it's telling me to support the paper, hit the button, and it will drop it out. So there we go. Very cool. Get the glare off of that if I can. Very cool printer. Quality-wise, I don't know that it's a huge difference. I think that most photographers would be more than happy with a 9000. I did discover that Epson about 20 years ago made a printer that was a 9500. It wasn't a p9500, but maybe that's why they opted to add the 70 to this. Just, you know, I'm not sure. 20-year-old inkjet printers, hard to believe any of those would still be around. I think it was only a 4-color printer. Anyway, if you have any questions about the printer, let me know. As I find out more about the cleaning and some other things, I'll do little short videos about those things. Thanks for watching. See ya.